Hey, if you're a multi-passionate creative like I am, there might be days when you feel like you're just a squirrel. You're jumping on all these different projects, different ideas. Well, this episode is all about how to rein in your squirrelness and set you on a path for success. Tune in. Well, hello and welcome to the Unstoppably Creative podcast, where I'm going to show you how to increase your confidence, build momentum, and create wildly successful results. I'm your host, Leslie Becker, and I'm here to help you have an unstoppably creative life. So let's get to it. Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Unstoppably Creative podcast, where we are talking about how to rein in your squirrelness as a multi-creative. If you're a multi-creative, I know you know what I'm talking about. You've got lots of ideas. Your brain is always going 90 miles a minute. You want to go over here and try that thing. You want to go finish that project over there. And the reality is we can't get any traction if we're always just switching gears too many times in the day. So today is going to be all about how to rein in that inner squirrel that all creatives have. Now, the reason this is such an interesting topic for the podcast episode this week is that these last couple of weeks, I've been kind of feeling like a squirrel. As I shared a few weeks ago, I left my full-time job that I had for the last 5 years and have gone out on my own. And part of my squirrelness is intentional to allow myself to go just try a lot of new things and not be afraid to just jump in and throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. But the reality is, I'm very aware that this inner squirrel that's happening right now in my world is not forever. I could not function every day if I felt like a squirrel every day. So if you are struggling with this and you feel like you're pulled in all these different directions, today's episode is going to be awesome for you because I am going to show you several ways, tips and tricks for you to stop being a squirrel and get your focus back. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that when I get an idea, I get so excited about the idea. My adrenaline starts to rush. I could work on it for hours and hours and hours and really stay focused on that one thing. But then if something else catches my mind or my eye, then I want to go over there and the same kind of cycle. I don't know if that's your way of being a squirrel or not, but right now that's what I'm feeling. And part of why I'm feeling that is because I am in this space of possibility. I went from working every single day in an office for someone else, and now it's my time to just explore all these different avenues of my life and what I want to build as a full business. So there's a part of me that kind of is getting a chuckle out of me being a squirrel because I'm not usually that way. And because I'm not usually that way, I've needed to put in some structures in place to rein in the squirrel that is happening around me. So get out your pen and paper, and we are going to dive into 5 ways that you can tame that inner squirrel of yours. All right. Number 1, you need to have a place for all of your ideas. I know you probably got things firing off all day, and if you don't write them down somewhere or record them in some way, you're going to forget. So I have kept an idea book from the time I was about maybe 15 or 16. When I got into high school, I realized, oh man, I've got all these ideas, and I just kept an idea book. And this idea book is dated, and it shares an idea that I thought was a good business idea. So I've been thinking about having my own businesses from the time I was young and have had several businesses from the time I was young. And so that was my way of kind of rallying and reining in my ideas. So an idea book is simply that. It's your chance to, when you get an idea, to not let it just float away, but to honor it, because any idea is like a lightning bolt strike and you never know what's going to come from that. So that you have some place that you're going to record what the idea is, what you're going to call it, and maybe as much as you want to pour onto that page about that idea. So having an idea book or an idea Google Doc or an audio recording, however you want to record it, have a place where you can get all your ideas down on paper so that once you finish that little quick 5 minutes, you can go back to your other task. And by the way, that is a great idea. If you are someone who is working diligently on one project and in the middle of it, you get an idea, I want you still to honor that idea. But the way you do that is you simply set a timer for 5 minutes, and you're giving yourself 5 minutes to go into your idea book, write down everything about that idea, and then when that timer goes off, you go back to your original project. This is a great little way to catch yourself, still honor the idea, and then move back to the task or project you were working on before. All right, number 2. Batch your days. I love this idea, and I have started to try it actually this week, because last week I was at a networking meeting and I met a woman who had like 3 thriving businesses, plus she shared that she had like 5 kids. So I was so just amazed at this woman and what she was accomplishing. And one of the things she said was she is starting to batch her days. Now, what does that mean? It simply means that you choose a day that is going to be about a specific thing. If you have 3 businesses going or 3 ideas or projects, set a day where you are batching all the things that have to do with one of those projects. So maybe Monday, like I'll use my life as an example. Monday is my chance to work on my musicals. Tuesday is my chance to flip furniture. I'm just making this as I'm going along, but you're actually batching a day so that your brain can stay focused on one thing at a time. Now, some of your brains might already be exploding because you're like, I could not do a whole day on one thing. Okay, again, I just taught you a little thing that if you focus one day, you batch a whole day on one thing, you can still honor those other ideas that come up if you do the little 5-minute timer rule. But the reality is, when you can focus on one thing for an extended period of time, you will be able to get way more done. You know, years ago, there used to be the thing about, being good at multitasking and, doing multiple things at the same time. And the reality is, the experts prove that that doesn't work. Focusing on one thing at a time is what's going to get you more progress faster. So start practicing or just trying out what it's like to batch your days. And on that same note, you can also batch your work. So batching is different than multitasking. Batching is saying, okay, I have, let's say, a bunch of podcast episodes that I'm going to dedicate 3 or 4 hours to just recording these podcast episodes so that I can have a batch of podcast episodes complete and ready so I can plan out my content ahead of time. This is especially helpful for me when I have a special series of episodes that are all connected. If I record those all in one day, it makes everything more cohesive. So try this in your life, whatever it is that is your creative gifts that you have, your business that you have. See if you can batch not only your days, but batch particular tasks that you need to do where you put them all into one. Number 3, now if you want to take that batching to a whole new level, the next suggestion is to do a creative power sprint. In fact, I did a whole episode on how to do a creative power sprint. That's episode number 137. Go back and check that out to get all the details of how to do a power sprint. But essentially, a power sprint is a time that you dedicate to getting a project complete if possible, but really, really near completion, or ideally fully complete. And depending on what your project is, your power sprint might be just one day. It might be a weekend. It might be a whole week or a whole month, whatever it is that you need to complete this one project that you know you need to get across the finish line. Do a creative sprint and be sure to check out episode number 137 to learn more how to do that. Number 4 tip on how to rein in that inner squirrel is to finish over starting. Get really good at finishing over starting. And the way you can do that is to tell yourself there are no more new projects right now. I know that feels like someone just choked you, but the reality is until you start finishing projects, you will always feel like you're drawn to the shiny object and you're not finishing things. And then that can have a real kind of a spin out on your psychological health. So finishing over starting. Now, I want to tell you a really awesome book by John Acuff called Finish. It is one of the coolest books about why we don't finish, what keeps us from finishing, and how you can learn how to finish things. So I highly recommend that book. I will put it in the show notes so that you can link to that on Amazon or wherever you want to buy your books, but is one that I highly recommend. So again, this number 4 is to get better at finishing over starting. So have yourself a no new projects week or a no new projects day or a no new projects month, whatever it is that you need to do to stay focused on one specific thing. And then finally, tip number 5, and this is a biggie for your daily life, and that is to set yourself up for success in terms of how you craft out your day, in terms of what's on your to-do list, what are your priorities, and where you are putting that information. So I am a huge fan of not recording your to-do list in your phone or some digital product. I want you to get used to actually physically writing it down, whether you do it on a notepad, whether you do it on a whiteboard, whatever it is you want to do, that you have physically written the things that you are committed to that day. Now, I personally love a whiteboard, not only because my older eyes need to see bigger letters, but I've grown accustomed to having a kind of a smaller size whiteboard that I create every single day. And the first thing that's on that whiteboard is the appointments that I have for the day. And the second thing on are my top 3 priorities, meaning the things that if you do not do those today, it kind of hangs you up for the things that you need to do tomorrow. And so every single day in the morning, or if you want to do it the night before, set up what your top 3 priorities are. Now, those top 3 priorities might end up being the only thing that you get done that day, but if you get those done, you can then go to the rest of your to-do list. But if every single day your to-do list has 45 items on it and you keep adding to it, you are not going to feel like you have the ability to, focus in on something. So choose your top 3 priorities that you are going to do each day. And by the way, when you are setting those top 3 priorities, they should be 3 things that are in the direct line of the goals that you are shooting for this year or currently in this quarter or this season of your life. So if you haven't already set goals for this season, please go back to episode 185 where I break down how to make the most out of the second half of 2025. Please go back and listen to that so that you can make sure you remember and know what your goals are so that when you set up your 3 priorities each day, they should be in the direct line of those goals. So those are the 5 tips that I promised you. And now I actually have a tip number 6, a kind of little bonus tip. And that is to remember you don't have to do this perfectly. If you have squirrel tendencies, each day is an opportunity for you to rein that in. So if you have another day that you feel like you're kind of a squirrel and all over the place, it's okay. Grant yourself some grace and just decide, you know what? I'm just going to adopt one of these things that I have given you, one of these tips. Some of the tips were bigger tips. Some of them were little tiny ones. I suggest the tiniest one is simply that you set 3 priorities that you are going to do today. Or if you're listening to this at night, that you're going to do tomorrow morning. Or that's going to be what your day's about. So start as small as you can to help you start reining in that inner squirrel. Because the truth is, my friend, we don't want that squirrel to go away entirely because the squirrel is kind of your creative self. It's the one that has all the ideas and is excited and gets really juiced up about things. And we don't want to lose that. I don't want you to lose that. But it's always good to know how to rein it in when you need to. All right, my friend, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And hey, if you did, please share this episode with somebody who you think could use this. Maybe you have a friend. Maybe you're not the squirrel. Maybe you have a friend who is a squirrel who might be able to use what I shared in this episode. All right, you have a great rest of your week. Until next time, please keep living your unstoppably creative life. Bye-bye. Oh, hey, and one last thing before you go. Along with sharing this with a friend who might be able to use this, please make sure that you have pushed the subscribe button so you get every single one of my episodes. They all release on Wednesday morning, and it will definitely be in your download before you wake up because I release that at about 4 in the morning so that anybody in any time zone will get that on Wednesday. The other thing is, if you enjoyed this episode, please go over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a 5-star review. And if you're really inclined, write something nice. I'd really appreciate it, and it helps me continue to grow this podcast. All right, my friend, you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.